Hey, board gamers, BJ from Game Gumbo here, back with another episode of Gumbo Live. It's episode number 102, Gumbo Live, the number one-ish Facebook Live talk show, at least on Tuesday nights, right? Dedicated to board gaming. Our special guest tonight is supposed to be Matthew Aslin, the designer and publisher of the Ratcatcher, a solo game. Steve and I thought it'd be pretty cool and appropriate during this COVID-19 crisis. Board Game Gumbo is a proud member of Punchboard Media. Hey, check out some of our other fine members like Open Seat Gaming. That's Marty and Scott and Sarah. They've got a great blog that focuses on ensuring that everyone that wants to join the board gaming hobby, no matter their background, has a seat at the table. Punchboard Media, where we all bring them to the table. Hit us up on social media tonight, on Twitter or on Facebook, at Board Game Gumbo, and we'll be looking for your questions in the chat. Still looking to see if he's there. That's not Matthew.
Nope.
That's the name father.
Hey, BJ, how you doing?
Hey, what's up, Steve? So, Steve, the name father, we got past episode 100. Had a great show with Dustin last week. Expecting Matthew in sometime. As you know, maybe you could talk about that right now.
Yeah, right.
As you know, the time difference between here and Australia, it's actually tomorrow for Matthew right now. So hopefully you remembered that we're doing on Wednesday and you're doing on Tuesday. But tell the viewers, tell the chat crew, how do you know about this time difference between, between New York and let's say Hobart, Australia?
Tasmania. Yeah, the reason I know about that is in the last week or two, I was a guest on the Dice Men Cometh. It's a podcast in Australia with Garth and Leon. Some of those folks who watched the Gumbo Extravaganza from 2 episodes ago saw that Leon was a guest on, who talked about coming over to New York and doing his trip around the world with his wife. So what goes around comes around. They scratched our back. I scratched theirs. So appeared on their show this past week, and that's up on their site live, or recorded. It was live, and we recorded, and it's up there for people to listen to now. We did a review of solo games. We did talk about Watergate as a 2-player game. Yeah, they have a tough time getting access to that one down there, but it's one that they're looking to have. So we did a walkthrough on that, and talked a lot about what it's been like, gaming from a distance with COVID-19 and the coronavirus doing its dastardly work around the world. It's been hard to find face-to-face gaming time, but face-to-face has been replaced with screen-to-screen. So we talked about that for a while too.
True. What I enjoyed is listening to it was just them. Mark was not there. It's just Garth and Garth and just drew a blank.
Garth and Leon.
Yeah, Garth and Leon. And it was good to hear the little witty repartee between the two of them. But what was kind of cool is this is your second appearance on there. You had done a PAX recap for them, but this time, was it different? Because it sounded like the last time was audio only, but this time you guys were doing a Zoom type thing?
Absolutely was. The first time I did we talked about it in advance, and Luke and Adam and a couple of others of us were going to PAX 2 years ago, and I said, hey, I'm going to be going. This is a new con in the States. You hadn't had them getting reports from Gen Con yet. So I said, let me see if I can give you a report. And Mark and I did a phone interview. About 20 minutes, and they basically recorded and cut that in. But this one was live the whole time, and they did their back and forth stuff and some news, and then it was interacting with them as a third Dice Man, the American Dice Man, stepping in for Mark.
It's a really good show. For anybody that hasn't listened to it, check out Dice Men coming out on podcast. Oh, yep. We have someone else checking in. Hold on. I think he's coming in to help us out. Alex, what's going on?
Hey, BJ. Hey, Steve. How are you?
Here's our guest,
Alex to the rescue
from Australia. Welcome, Matthew.
Yeah, thanks. Good day, mate. Good day. Barbie? That's not a knife. This is a coffee mug.
It's a coffee mug. No, that's
that was the exact thing that we said when they were going to try and do a New York accent. I said, if you don't do a forget about it, I won't do a that's not a knife.
You probably didn't get to listen to it because you don't listen to any podcasts other than the Dukes of Dice, Alex.
True.
But
I don't listen to any podcasts. No, to be clear. So I'm not the kind of person who'll be like, oh, yeah, you did a great job, and haven't actually listened to the episode. I don't listen to any board game podcasts at all, period. End of story. The only one I ever listened to was Flip the Table back when they were in their heyday. And that podcast was amazing, and I wish it would come back. And in honor of that podcast.
Ooh, yes! BJ from Game Gumbo. I've got my guests here, Alex and Steve, and we're talking about one of the hottest games to hit the market in at least 30 or 40 years. Tell us about it, Alex.
So I haven't played it yet. But Abby has very fond memories of Barbie Queen of the Prom, as folks who listen to a recent Dukes of Dice episode will be aware. It is, from a quick glance, a roll and move game. This is the original 1961 game, but it was reprinted in the 90s. It comes with all these lovely surprise cards.
It was reprinted, Steve. It got a reprint.
This surprise card says, you're voted the most popular girl in your class. If you need one, you may choose any boyfriend who's not taken, or you may exchange your present boyfriend, unless he's your steady date, for any boyfriend not yet taken. Now, I don't know of any mechanical difference between these boyfriends. There are 4 magical boyfriends within this game. There are also various dresses that come in this game.
Did you say dresses?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. So
wait, you unboxed it? You should have done an unbox video. I mean, the fans want to see this.
You're right. So there's a silken flame dress, $35 dress, looking very lovely. Mm-hmm. We have a Let's Dance $40 dress. Okay. We have a Solo in the Spotlight $50 dress.
Is that the going rate, Steve, for dresses for prom?
Good question. It's been a long time.
Go ahead, Alex.
And then we have the Enchanted Evening, $65. This is the most expensive prom dress you can get. Now, there are also boyfriends. So you need to have a dress. You need to have a boyfriend, and we have, of course, Tom, looking very sharp. Tom. Mm-hmm. We have. Is
that Thomas Breed?
That's like a younger name father here, I think.
It looks more like an Eric Summerer to me than a Tom.
Oh, yeah, that's fair. That's a good point. We have Ken. Mm-hmm. We have Bob.
Biff.
He looks a little old to be going to the prom, in my opinion.
Yeah, a little bit.
That's Biff from Back to the Future.
Oh, it did kind of look like him too. And we have everyone's least favorite boyfriend, Poindexter.
Archie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, do you need Malibu Mana to activate these cards, Alex? Or once the boyfriend has been used, you'd have to tap the card and turn him so that he's
not as
needs
far
to be
as
reactivated.
You do need to be president of one of these clubs, though. Of
one
the music
looks
club,
like the Glee Club, maybe
club, athletic club, or the drama club. Now, I will say this. This did do a very early take on deck building, which is fascinating to see in a game that's old. No, it doesn't actually have deck building in it.
Yeah, those are discount dresses, Jesse. That's right. You can't get those. Hey, just remember, Steve, Glory to Rome still can't get a reprint, and right. Alex has a reprint, not the original, a reprint of Barbie the Dream Date game.
That's Vassal's Law.
See, look, Bill agrees with me. Archie, and that's right. Vassal's Law. If a game is good enough, it's going to get a repeat.
Okay, I just noticed this has the weirdest dice. I can't tell. It appears to be
those are stickers.
It's sort of stickers, but they're like a very high quality sticker.
Berkey, we've got the game for you. We're showing off. Show it to Mark.
Berkey, you might remember this one, Berkey. I'm sure this was your jam growing up all the time.
The Barbie Dream. No, Queen of the Prom game.
Queen of the Prom. Get it right.
Very important.
I think a game topper might reject that game, Alex. It might be forbidden from being on the table.
A game topper mat with Barbie on it. Ooh, that might be expensive though.
Yeah.
Probably a little bit hard to get the rights to that one.
I do have a bone to pick with you, Alex, in terms of the board game deathmatch that you had. It was IPs. McDonald's, not an IP?
I considered, as my last pick, I've strongly considered doing that.
I didn't doubt it a bit. I didn't doubt you. I was wrong.
I haven't played it. I haven't played it yet. It's high on the list of games to play, and I hear it's very good, corny fun. But I have not played it yet. So
all right.
It was in the consideration mix. There was
give you a pass.
Wow.
The consideration mix was NHL Icebreaker.
Ah,
you did mention that one.
The Fast Furious poker-based hockey game.
Cool.
So
that would have been interesting, and that's an IP, I guess, because it's got the NHL logo on it, right?
Yeah, I mean it's more of an IP than Walnut Grove turned out to be, which is also featured on that episode.
That's absolutely true.
Okay, so all during the episode they talked about it, and then I go on the forums and they're like, it's not even an IP at all. The designer has said it's not an IP. Well,
no.
Have you gotten to the bottom of it? Is it really an IP or
no?
not?
It's definitely not, as far as I can tell. Like, but whatever. I mean, it's in the moment. We're not gonna, Scrabble dictionary call someone on it. So,
what a fun show, though. I actually started listening to them because they really have a good rapport and a chemistry and a camaraderie. I mean, two of them are related, of course, brother and sister, as I recall. Yeah. But all three of them, it's such a. I was saying, Steve, I was telling Alex, I think that we need to, or maybe it was you. We need to bring that on the show here, just a mini version of it. I had a law school professor, and he always said, if you don't, why reinvent the wheel? Just plagiarize, and call it research.
That doesn't sound like good legal advice to me.
No, you can do that in law school. It's called research. I mean, you copy right out of somebody else's brief. In fact, the Supreme Court expects you to do that with stare decisis. They want to see the same language over and over and over again. That would be trouble with intellectual property, of course. So I'm not telling anybody to do that, but.
Well, it seems like that what you're suggesting is to do that with intellectual property in the case of the death match.
We're going to do an homage to their show.
Oh, okay.
Right. But he said it in Latin, though, so that makes it okay.
Oh, well.
That's the law. That's the law.
No, it's very clear that if you do it in Latin, it's not illegal.
Mm-hmm.
We'll change 12% of it, and then it'll be, what we'll do? We'll give it a dumb Cajun name. And then, of course, it can't be the same game. It's got a Cajun name to it. We're going to call it Board Game Bataille. That's what we're going to call it. Board Game Bataille.
BJ, is this the least board game, like modern board game related this show has been 15 minutes in?
Usually at this time, we're talking about games we've played, and you are talking about a game you've played. Not really a modern game, though. Have you and Abby, your fiance, gotten any modern games recently?
We have. And in fact, we're set to review one of them on the show. Let me find it. Hang on.
Oh, cool.
It's on the shelf somewhere.
Do we know this game?
I think we do.
You know Renegade, so you may have heard of it. I don't know if you know the game.
Is this the one that we voted? Not voted. Is this the one we're working on with the?
This is the one that Abby called an audible.
Stella! Stella!
This is a fantastic little game.
Hey, Stella!
Excellent.
I don't want to spoil anything for the review for folks who listen to the Dukes, which I don't know what the kind of crossover is, but this is a fantastic little game. Basically, what you're going to do is you're building a telescope. You're building a telescope in front of you, and it's kind of based off of these numbered cards that you lay out as sort of your play area in front of you. And then that play area, you will also have 5 cards that you can draft from, and the cards look like this. You get moon cards. You get stellar clouds, you have black holes, you have asteroids of different kinds, you have satellites. And how this is going to work is at the start of your turn, you're going to pick 1 card and add to your hand. So you'll have 3 cards in your hand. Then you're going to play a card either to your notebook, which determines how cards score, or you're going to play it to your telescope, which determines what is scoring or what is being scored. Mm-hmm. If it's in your notebook, you're looking for runs of consecutive numbers in the same thing. So I'm looking for in moons 2, 3, and 4, because if I get that, I multiply any moon points I have out on the board by 3 times. The trick is whichever side you play to. Let's say I play a 2 to my notebook. Then I look to the row. Remember, there's 5 numbered cards, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I then have to play the number 2 card from that slot in the other thing. So if I play to my notebook, the number 2 card from the row automatically goes into my telescope. Mm-hmm. If there's no card in there, I get top decked. Whatever's on the top of the deck goes in my telescope and I have to place it. At the end of the game, you're going to score based on the multipliers and what's in your telescope. You're also going to score based on areas because it's broken into, I'll show this card, these different regions. So that's how the telescope will be laid out. And the top 5 cards up here, whoever has the highest kind of total number of things in the top numbers gets 10 points. In the middle, top there gets 10 points. And in the bottom, the top person gets 10 points. But it's this really elegant, it's not really a draft, but it's this elegant kind of hand card management kind of system. And it plays really smoothly. It's really puzzly and interesting. And Abby is good at kicking my butt in this one. There's something about this one that has it just click into place for her.
And that's from the Fleeples, right? That's Matt Riddle and Ben Pinchback, right?
It is, yeah.
That is from Renegade Games.
Renegade Game Studios. An awesome 2-player game. So if you're looking for a great one, even for folks who aren't hardcore gamers, it's a simple but deep kind of game. It's in that kind of arboretum type of category where you have really simple mechanics, but the puzzle of it is a lot deeper and a little bit trickier and leads to some crunchy decisions.
Here's where I'm going to play contrarian. One of the reasons why I didn't take a look at it is because the initial theme was so cool.
What was it?
It was lighthouses. So that's one of those things that's just fascinating to me because I'm not from a place that has lighthouses. I just love them. I love seeing pictures of them. I love visiting them when we're traveling. I don't know how the game played, but the thought of these building these beautiful lighthouses and scoring as they shine out into the water just sounded like a really cool idea for a game.
It makes more sense with the space theme to me than it would with the lighthouse theme.
Instead of finding space things in the sky, you were finding categories of ships, perhaps.
Yeah,
I never played it.
I think I'm with Alex on the theme sounding pretty good. This version.
You're allowed to love lighthouses, and it's certainly not a common theme in games. I would have a hard time thinking of any lighthouse-themed games offhand. I mean, there are probably games that include lighthouses in them. If chat has any suggestions on games that are lighthouse-themed, I'd love to hear it. But
Isle of Skye has lighthouses, but it's not a lighthouse game. Yeah.
Yeah, New Bedford has lighthouses on the cover, a beautiful painting by Nolan Nasser, but it has nothing to do with the game at all.
No.
So really, Stellar, the space is closer to you than the lighthouse theme, must it?
Yeah, I think so. What's the time frame on play on that, Alex?
That game takes about a half hour, maybe even a little bit less. It's not a long, in-depth kind of. It's a deep game, but it's certainly not a lengthy game.
I love what you were describing there about the choice of the card is really a choice of two things at once. And that you have that tension between, well, this might not be the greatest choice for me in card, but it's going to do something for me by giving a little bit in what I'm picking next. I like that. The tension sounds cool.
Well, and it's hate drafting too. There might be something that say Abby really wants that would complete a run or would help her or fill out her board. And in order to kind of battle her for that, I might take that card away from her. But that may then hamper my own plans for how I play.
Does that decision slow things down, though? Because one of the things I hate is when people are just mathing it out, and next thing you know, it's 20 minutes, and they're still sitting there.
There's not enough to this to be stuck in that moment for too long. So it's certainly not anything we ran into.
Right.
And the other benefit of it is it takes a certain number of turns. It will take this number of turns. You play until your telescope is filled up.
Gotcha.
When your telescope is filled up, the game is done. Period. End of story.
I like that. Santa Monica does the same thing. You're playing the 14 cards. And so while you're playing, you kind of forget the number. But when you get to 9, 10, and 11, all of a sudden you start going, okay, I've got the symbols that I want. Now, how can I start scoring them? Is that kind of similar in Stellar?
Yes, yeah, effectively. I mean,
like you see the end game coming?
Yes, at the start of things, you're going to kind of have a something that steers your strategy. The game seeds you with the very top middle card of your telescope and one card in your notebook to start. So you have something to go off of. And then as the game goes on, your strategy gets steered. There are only certain places you're legally allowed to place cards. So there's some tension that comes in as far as that goes. So for instance, if I have a clump of asteroids already, my next asteroid has to be as part of that same clump. I'm not legally allowed to place it not connected or there's not orthogonally adjacent. I mean, it's just kind of everything's either adjacent or it isn't in this. So yeah, there's that kind of decision, and you get some tense moments down the stretch because am I going to be able to fit this in? Am I going to be able to complete this run? It's the difference between a 2 times multiplier or a 5 times multiplier. It might am I going to be able to beat my opponent to scoring this bottom row? Am I going to be able to beat my opponent? Or am I there's another thing for diversity bonus. Am I going to score the diversity bonus? Is it worth me scoring the diversity bonus in this game? There's a lot going on here choice wise, and they do a lot with a little.
Last question.
Interesting.
Do you think the Washington Post is too powerful? Is it broken? Are they broken? Are their cards broken? Oh, wait, sorry.
It's not a Nickelodeon-themed game, although it could be bizarrely intriguing if it was. I don't know how that theme would work, but not everything is Watergate, BJ.
My real last question was the art. Tell me about the art.
Yeah, I don't know who did it offhand, and I'll talk about this on the show, but it's simple, it's well done, it's clean, it's eye-catching but not striking. It's not my favorite art I've ever seen in a game, but the box itself has this beautiful spot UV in certain parts so that it pops a little bit. It looks very nice. So no, I dig the look of the game too. It from that standpoint, it works well. The one nitpick, and we'll talk about this more on the show, is those telescope cards I get why they did it that way. If they had it as 2 individual player boards, would have upped the production cost a ton.
Yeah.
But I think it would have improved the experience of the game just a bit.
And you can hear more about it on the Duke's Dice, and that is, hey, Stella from Renegade Games. Designers Matt and Ben. Matt Riddle and Ben Pinchback.
There you go.
BJ from More Game Gumbo. I've got my guests here, Steve and Alex, and we're talking spicy hot games. And there was another game that you brought out. Steve, you got to check out?
No, I was just waving,
okay.
saying hello.
Yeah, I saw you were bringing out another hot game that may not make the show this time. So tell me about Mandala.
We'll talk about it.
I've been hearing a lot about this on social media, but I've never seen it in the wild.
So we'll talk about it on the show. This was out of stock when I was first looking to get this, and it came back into stock on Amazon and scooped up a copy that way. So this is Mandala. It is another 2-player only game. I'll show you what it comes with. This game, this is a kind of a Watchdog Alex moment a little bit. It comes with this very, very large foldable cloth board. I don't know if folks can see that pretty well.
Mino-like. Yeah. I don't like cloth boards.
Yeah. Well, and I'm not a fan either. They tried it in Tokyo Highway to kind of have it all fit in that one box. This one, you don't even
Tokyo
need the
Highway
board to be quite this large. It gives it a nice presence.
Tokyo Metro, maybe?
I mean, here's the thing with this one. You have this little cloth mat. You have a rule book. And you have these cards, this stack of cards. What is the price point on this game?
With that, $29.99.
Yeah, you're dead right.
30.
I think it's a little much personally, but
yeah.
And I will say,
that's the MSRP, and you're complaining about it?
Yeah.
Wait, is that the MSRP, or that's what you paid for it?
I think that's what I paid for it too.
Okay. Well, the MSRP would be higher then, probably, right?
Based on ordering from Amazon because it was out of stock.
Right.
I paid, I think, straight up MSRP for it. But you can feel free to do a little bit of research while I talk through the game. And Adam Austin says, no, it's not Mancala, it's Mandala.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
Bill guessed $28.
Jeremy weighing in the chat, and yeah, I would agree. It is pretty sweet. It's another one of these that does a lot with a little, right? As I showed you, it's just a board and it's just this deck of cards. That's all we're talking about. The cards themselves come in these beautiful patterns in different colors. You have an orange one, yellow one, you have a purple one, you have a green one, you have a red one, and you have a black one. 6 different kind of colors of cards. That's the only difference in the deck. There's no special cards, no special abilities. It's just this. And you have a handful of cards, and on your turn you can do one of 2 things. You can either play to one of the 2 areas that you're battling over, and I'll kind of hold this up and explain. So you can either play to one of these 2 areas in the middle, like right in the middle, or you can play to your side of the outside to try and win the card. If you play the middle, you get to draw cards after you do so. If you play to your side, you don't draw additional cards, but you increase your strength and your chances of winning the cards in the middle, which is the prize that you're trying to win. The trick of this is there are 6 colors, and the mandala itself won't do anything until all 6 colors are present. And once a color is somewhere, it can't be somewhere else. So for instance, if BJ, you had an orange on your side of the board, I can't play orange to the middle, and I can't play orange to my side of the board. You can play multiple other oranges to your side of the board to increase your strength. You own that color for that specific mandala. Once it scores, then we distribute the cards in the middle one at a time. So basically, let's say you won that one, BJ. Once all 6 colors are triggered, you would get dealt, or you would choose, I should say, 1 stack of cards in the middle. So if there were 2 reds in the middle, you would get both of those reds. If there was a black, you could pick that one. You pick one of the colors, then I pick one of the colors, and then if there are any colors left, which is possible, you pick more of those colors. Then what gets interesting is those cards get scored. And if you see on the end of the board here, you have numbers, and they're upside down on this look, but 1 all the way up to 6. The first time you get a color, let's say I get an orange would go here, and it would mean orange scores at the end of the game 1 point for me. So the first card here doesn't score at all. It kind of determines what gets scored. And then anything past that that's orange now goes in my scoring pile and scores 1 point. The next color I take, let's say it's black, goes in my number 2 column. And now black scores me 2 points per black card at the end of the game, and so on and so forth. So different colors are going to be worth different amounts to different people, depending on when in the game you take them, what things look like. So you want to win clumps of cards, but some cards may be more worthless. You might win 5 cards, BJ, but that may not matter to me because they only count for 1 point each for you. You seeded a couple of cards at the start of the game into your scoring pile to give you some direction as to what you might want to be of a higher value. The game is going to end in one of 2 ways. One, if any player gets their 6th different color in their scoring pile, we then flip over here, whatever's in the scoring stack, and score. The other way is if the deck runs out, which can happen, you will kind of reshuffle what's in the discard pile, but then the next time any mandala scores, either side scores, the game ends hard stop after the mandala is distributed.
I'm struggling to think of a game this is like. This seems like some pretty unique mechanics in there. Is there any reference in there?
I'm trying to think of what it would be most similar to. I mean, mechanically, it's dirt simple. Like if I pulled out a reference card for this, it's very clearly just, hey, you either play a card here to the middle and draw cards. You either play a card to your side and don't draw cards, or you the third option you can do is you can discard any number of cards of a color and then redraw other cards. So if a color is worthless, you can't play it in either stack, or you just don't want it and you have a bunch of them and you want to refresh your hand and you're looking for one specific color to try and trigger a scoring of a mandala, you can discard, say, 5 reds and draw 5 cards back, but that's your entire turn.
Okay.
So it's dirt simple. You'll do one of 3 things on a turn, and you play to one of 2 different areas, and within those 2 areas, you only have 2 options.
So I'm hearing a little bit of Lost Cities and Jaipur mashed together. A little bit of. Does
it needs something else to also talk about the value of what you're getting, and throw in a little bit of biblios for setting the market values for things you're collecting, and you might be on the track there. Yeah, it's a totally different mechanism, but you are setting the value for what you're collecting and turning it up or turning it down based on where you place those cards in your side.
It's true, though, BJ, that in Lost Cities, for instance, different colors of cards are going to be worth different things to different players.
Right.
I may really covet this one type of card because it's more valuable to me, and you may find it completely worthless.
Right.
The value is different between those 2, and you have a sense, it's public information, what cards are scoring at what values for me. Mm-hmm. So
I like the gameplay. I'm not so sure about the cloth map. It's just not my favorite, man.
I will tell you, I didn't dislike it. In terms of things in this game, this was not the thing that kind of bugged me. It laid flat enough. That's the thing with cloth mats that I tend not to like, is they don't lay
bunch up.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So it worked out well. And again, the game is a dirt simple mechanically, but I think there's a lot of depth there. There's a lot to it.
What's the playtime we're looking at?
It's about 20 to 30 minutes. Yeah, it's reasonably short. Not a lot of AP. I enjoy it a lot. Abby thinks for her it's a little too simple. Interestingly enough, that was her assessment of it. Was that it was a little too simple. But again, we'll talk about that more on the show. But that's the other one that kind of came in the mix.
Interesting.
Well, Alex, man, thanks for chiming in with those 2 games. We got Matthew Aslin, the designer of the Ratcatcher. So stick around if you like solo games.
I'm out.
We'll see you later. Again, Alex Goldsmith, the Duke's Dice. Check him out on the next podcast. He'll be doing some solo, some 2-player game reviews.
Yes.
See you later.
Bye, guys.
See you, Alex.
No, I mean, if you had a jambalaya ready, or we could. Oh wait, no, there he is.
Hey, Alex. Welcome to the show. Hey, Matthew, welcome to the show.
I'm gonna stop crashing your interview.
This is why I like board games instead of technology. Morning, gents.
Hey, good morning, Matthew. This is Steve over here, and I'm BJ from Game Gumbo. Welcome aboard. We've been kind of killing time talking to our friend Alex Goldsmith, who's been a guest on the show a couple of times, and also Steve and I talking. But I am so glad you finally made it.
Oh, tell me about it.
Let me get back to technology. My show. Hey, Matthew, just in case people haven't heard of you or Platypus Industries before, give us the elevator pitch. You know what that is as a designer and a publisher. Give us the elevator pitch. Who is Matthew?
Now we lost BJ.
I was going to say, now BJ's gone.
Go ahead and keep going with the elevator pitch, Matthew. We'll keep it going.
The elevator pitch is pretty easy. I'm a lifelong gamer like most designers. From the tender age of 8, I've been wargaming for most of my life. I've owned a local gaming store. I've been a buyer for games companies. I've worked in the industry just about all my life. And then over the last few years, recently changed to being a graphic designer, which has definitely been helpful over the last few months. And yeah, now games designer publisher.
All right. So all the way back from age of 8, what was it that brought you in, first of all? What were those early memories? Say again?
Good old Hero Quest.
Good old Hero Quest. All right, cool. I think BJ was going to try and log back in here for a second, but I'll try and keep going with what he was saying. We talked a little bit about some earlier games that you've been talking about, but you said you changed games and went into a career in graphic design. How does that flow into your time now doing board game design?
It flows in heaps. Graphic design, I think, is one of the most underrated things in a game design. I'm sure we've all had games where you trouble learning, trouble using the interface for it. Good graphic design can make all the difference in a good game.
Excellent. Now, here's the difficulty we're going to have until BJ can jump back in, because he's got all the files to be able to show the wonderful game that we've got for you here. We have posted the link to the Kickstarter, but maybe you can talk us through what started you with the idea for the Ratcatcher.
It was a really odd one, actually. I was talking to the Quackalope the other day about it, actually, and we were exploring the origins of Ratcatcher. And it's a bit of an unusual one because it started as a kids game in which you would play as little kids hunting rats, like whack-a-mole almost, with little hammers. You just go around whacking all the rats and having a bit of fun, counting up some points with depending on which rats you catch, and that's what it was going to be. And yeah, a little bit different now, and it's far more dark, gothic sort of.
Your character's smacking anything. You're not actually wielding any hammers, but there are some that have the hammers to be able to wield for you in the game, right, as the characters?
Yep.
Cool. Tell us a little bit about what you've got going with this design. I mean, it's a solo game, right? Solo only?
Yeah, pure solo. At the moment, I've just started some design and development, which I've been talking to the backers about, of doing a co-op adventure as the next sort of chapter in the universe. But that's a long way off. I've only just sort of started to crack how to introduce multiple players.
Right, flipping
because it's such a solo design game.
People usually want you to take the competitive game and turn it into something you could solo. You started solo and you're turning it around to make it into a more cooperative thing. Yeah. DJ, welcome back to your own
It's actually
I'm sitting there talking and going on, and I can't see you guys. I'm like, well, I'm just going to cancel this show. So I went to Facebook, and you were doing a great job interviewing. I said, I'm going to sit back. The only reason I jumped back in is because Steve said, "Well, we can't do any pictures." All right, so take it away, Steve. I don't want to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, we'll keep going. You was just starting to talk to us about the design of this as a co-op game, and thinking about maybe starting it with solo, but maybe thinking of going in the direction of co-op.
So far, the latest breakthrough I've had with getting the turn sequencing done has definitely allowed co-op to be an option.
Interesting.
It's going to be a little bit different. I haven't found any other games as an example, and it's something I'm definitely looking for at the moment to try and really get a leg up on the idea. But yeah, solo to multiplayer has been a real difficulty compared to what, as you said, most usually it's multiplayer down, which I think is a little bit easier. You just start filling in players.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Tell everybody about the Game Crafter. I saw that you won the Game Crafter solo contest. How did you get involved in that?
We were one of the finalists. We didn't actually win that one. I'm trying to think who won that one.
It looks like you were a finalist. Is that right?
Yeah, it was a really good comp. Everyone really had fun. I still keep in touch with a few of the other designers in the competition, actually. It was really good. Motivation to turn the Ratcatcher from an idea and a few sketches in a book into a actual playable game. It was all done in about 60 days, the original game, with all the artwork I did for it, all the graphic design, everything.
Really?
It pumped out really quickly, and that was about 2 years ago now, maybe even a bit further along. It's amazing to see how far it's come. We were showing off pictures in the Platypus Discord the other day of some of the really early prototypes, and is she an ugly baby, that one.
So wait, I didn't pick that up. Did you do the artwork yourself?
Yep.
Holy cow, Steve! I had no idea. I knew you did the graphic design because that's one of the things that you do. Wow, you did everything on this game.
Everything, 3D work, video work,
In 60
everything.
days.
This one wasn't. This is the version 2 artwork and everything. So yeah, it's had a lot more time development and process. Thankfully. But yeah, I can still see a lot of the core ideas coming through. Like Miss Black, the lady with the top hat.
Yes.
She hasn't changed too much since the original versions of her. The Rat King hasn't changed too much. But some of the other characters are definitely.
And you guys may have already talked about this, but what's the elevator pitch for the game? If you were trying to sell the chat crew on why they should check out the project tonight, what's the pitch?
So the Ratcatcher makes you the unlikely hero of the day with the kingdom of Bree being infested with rats. This is due to the kingdom inventing a magical cheese, which does everything. It's a wonderful product. But yeah, sadly, its key selling point is to rats.
We could use it right now, Matthew. If you could get that flash right now, we could use some.
In some of the lore that's going to come out in the future expansions, we're going to talk about some of the wonderful things that it does. It's the only cheese in the kingdom that is able to be eaten by people who are lactose intolerant. So it's a wonderful cheese.
Wow. And how long does it play?
So it's about 30 minutes to 45 minutes. You'll go through a game.
I watched Quacklobe's video. I watched Quacklobe's video on it, and he admitted that he's never won the game. How tough is this game, Matthew?
The game can be tough. It is winnable. We talk about an 80% loss rate. And there is a hard mode that's being instigated through the Kickstarter stretch goals as well. So make it a little bit harder. It doesn't make it like unwinnable, but it does make it a little bit trickier. And I think I found after the hundreds and hundreds of games I've played of Ratcatcher, I enjoy the hard mode because it gets rid of a few of my tactical advantages from experience.
Steve, you got something?
Yeah, talk to us about what's going on in the game. How are you acting as the Ratcatcher? Talk to us a little bit about the mechanics of how it'll play, because I think that's what's going to get people to be interested in sitting down and saying, "Oh, I can see myself as this character, but what am I doing with this character?"
Yeah, no problems at all. It's really good. You've got the character board up there. So the character board's your quintessential item that handles all the mechanics during the game. You've got attack dice that you'll use throughout the game to randomly see whether you can catch a rat or not. And as you collect magical cheese throughout the mission, you'll be able to allocate it onto the board and unlock new abilities, upgrade parts of your character. You'll also be able to place traps. This is a different tactical option than I think a lot of most adventure games give you. This allows you to spread yourself a little bit and attacking the hordes of rats, because the rats do outnumber you quite severely in the game. So you'll have to use your traps really cleverly and your abilities quite cleverly to keep on top of the horde.
I love the fact that you got these dual layered boards. Is that something that you've played in other games and you just loved, or something you really needed for this game, or is it a combination of both?
It's a little bit of a combination of both. I think, one, it's a nice quality thing, but two, with the Ratcatcher board in particular, there's a lot of tokens. And I've found even just playing the game, if you bump the board a little bit, it can just shift things out of place for you. So having that, especially in the movement track, that you'll notice it's a jagged path. It just makes sure the little token won't slide, because that's a really important statistic. And I've even found it's when you're playing, you can get a little bit into it and forget exactly where you're at economically. And yeah, it's nice to have that locked into place so I know exactly where I'm at.
So 80% loss rate, and that's even with all of the practice that you see out there. How did you get the play testing done? Is that friends and family, big play testing group? What's the play test like in Australia?
Well, play testing is very tier based. It doesn't matter where you are. So yeah, you start with internal testing. Thankfully, with a solo game, internal testing is really easy.
I'm going to play this game tonight. No, I don't feel like. No, you're going to play it tonight.
That's what I said. The amount of times I played the game, because you just sit there going, "Oh, I want to try this out. I don't have to wait for somebody. Right. Just let's do it. Run through a full game." Then close friends. I'm lucky to be part of a really good community of gamers here in Melbourne.
Yeah, Mick, it is right on Kickstarter right now for the next 7 days, right? Roughly.
Yep. Yeah, another 6 days. Yeah.
So tell us about tell us about the Melbourne Play Group.
Melbourne Play testers are really good. So we've got tiers. We've got local people that are really close within 5-10 minutes, and then we can go in the CBD here. We've got our incubator group, which is all the Victorian playtesters and game designers all sort of get together there. So yeah, sourcing from those guys and then start going nationally with heaps of playtesting through that. And yeah, then even flinging it overseas. I've got 1 or 2 copies in the US. There's a copy in the UK and there's a copy touring Europe at the moment as well. So
how far are you from Tasmania? How far are you from Tasmania?
A fair bit of a swim.
Steve's got some friends in Tasmania that are big gamers. I don't know if you've heard of the Dice Men Comic, but
my dad's in Tasmania actually.
Okay. Are you a fan of the Dice Men Comic podcast? No.
Yeah, they're great. Mark and I actually did an interview last PAX. So
very cool.
Okay. Steve was on the show last week, and I had Leon on the show a couple of weeks ago, just for a brief pop in. So yeah, that was actually they're really cool guys.
They're so much fun.
Hey, now, Matthew, you actually used to run an FLGS, is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for about 4 or 5 years. So that's where I usually came from, the retail side of the game industry.
Okay, that's where you started it, right? Yeah.
Yeah, or even just as a young gamer, I was lucky enough to pick up a job in a game store when I was young, and yeah, the addiction kept going from there.
And were you the owner or were you the manager?
Yeah, I've worked my way up through the tiers, and yeah, eventually opened my own store.
What made you decide to go into the publishing side?
Well, life changed a lot. I left the store because I had twin girls, so that changes life a fair bit. They're now 10. You've seen them, I think, wandering back and forth through the back.
Yep.
The fun of being in isolation with everybody.
Yeah, Topher, this art, you got to understand, this art was done by Matthew himself, man.
Thomas said something similar earlier before, that the art was really engaging and was interesting for the game. I find it fascinating that you began with the art and the characters in your head and the game emerged. That's cool.
It's always a hard combination as an artist, which starts where, and hopefully I think they should influence each other a little bit as well. I don't like the disconnects. It's one of the big problems I have with a Euro game is I hate the disconnect between little cubes and I'm supposed to be doing what? There's not enough of a connect for me. Mm-hmm. I'm a sucker for theme.
The best Euros. No, but the best Euros always seem to have an explanation as to why you're doing things. The mechanics themselves fit the theme of the game. Not necessarily from an Ameritrash standpoint. I'm saying that when you think, I'm going to be doing this, it makes sense. When you increase your family in Agricola, it makes sense that you would have more actions, but you'd also have to feed more, right?
Yeah, so exactly.
That's where I think that's the most engaging Euro games, and I'm sure as a theme person, you're bringing that into games like the Ratcatcher, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's just the most important part of any game, no matter what category it comes from. It helps create that nice magic circle.
Yep.
Steve, you got something?
No, I was just checking in on chat. There's a lot of people talking about saying hello and wishing you luck with this and saying that they love the dual layered boards. Look at them.
It's the funniest things that people love.
Dual layered boards, that's the thing. That is definitely the thing.
That custom dice. Everyone wants custom dice.
All right, so
you were asking about the frosted dice before, though, weren't you?
Yeah, you got to tell me about this frosted dice. What are we talking about here? What are we talking about here?
The easiest way to explain them is, have you seen the new version of Kings of Tokyo, the Dark Edition?
Yes. Yeah. Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, the dice. They're the frosted effect.
That's the
I love them.
Cool.
80, my 3D render doesn't do them justice.
Yeah, we needed something a little better. We'll have to check that out. So check out the frosted ice. You guys are getting close. Any little secrets any things that you really want to happen with this project?
Besides revealing this last Nemesis rat, because he's been a really big secret. He's only been play tested by a very small group, so hopefully the backers and I are going to fine tune him a bit more after we finish the campaign, because he's been super secret, and he not only adds a big badass rat that he is, he unveils a little bit of the story about where the magical cheese comes from. So,
are you foreseeing sequels to this?
Yes.
Or foreseeing a world emerging here?
Oh, there's a whole world filled with magical cheese. It's disastrous and rat filled.
The more magical cheese out there, the better, right?
Yeah.
Right, Steve?
Absolutely.
And that is
actually just started.
That is the Ratcatcher. Oh, good. Yeah, good. Campaign would be That it just seems natural if you got all this world just bubbling up, channel it into a campaign. And that's the Ratcatcher out on Kickstarter right now from Platypus Industries. Matthew Aslin, designer, graphic designer. He does the artwork. He's like the man of all trades. But Matthew, this is a board game show, and if we're going to do a board game show, we got to play a game. You ready? Are you ready to play a game? All right. So the game we're going to play tonight is called the Envy game. It's a Cajun word. All it means is a hankering or a jonesing. I don't know what term you'd use in Australia, but when you really, really want to do something or you really want to eat something, right? Do y'all have a word for that?
A craving.
Craving. Right? Okay, good. The Envy game is a game that you, right now, if the show ended and stopped, you had the perfect play group, no one to bother you, no work to be done, and you had the game in front of you, whether it's a game you own already or a game you've always wanted to own. You just need to think of the game real quick. Don't tell us. The chat crew and I are going to compete with Steve, and we're going to try to guess the game. We only have about 20 questions to do it. We'll see if we can do it.
I'm worried if there's anyone who knows me really well, this is going to be way too easy.
Oh, okay. Hey, we love easy on this show, man. We love easy.
We need easy.
We need easy. We've lost a lot of times in the show, Matthew.
I was just making sure it wasn't on the shelf behind me.
Yeah, check that out. You know, I saw I'm on Chris Woodpan's show, Game All Night, and I didn't realize Watergate was behind me. And I'm going on and on. I'm trying to be clever. And on guest 3, they said, "Is it Watergate?" We're like, "Oh, dang it, oil." So, oh well. All right, so this game has a hankering for a hunk of cheese. Yes, Topher, I remember that.
Takes you back to that animated Saturday morning cartoon.
Those old things. All right, so the Envy game. You understand the rules, Matthew?
Indeed.
Okay, good. All right, so I always start out with the first question. Is it a competitive or is it a cooperative game? And I'm going to guess competitive.
No, it's cooperative.
Oh, I'm wrong, Steve. Well, that narrows down the list to only about 1,200 games. So we're getting closer.
Okay.
Oh, so close.
All right, chat crew.
Last 5 years? Published in the last 5 years?
Published in the last 5 years. I think so. I'd have to double check.
There's the cameo appearance walking behind in the background.
Is that one of the twins? Okay.
Yep.
Hey, check. Hey, look at the wave. All right. So, Jesse, don't take too long. Be quick because Steve may guess this before you get back.
No.
All right. So Matthew's checking. Chat crew, just to remind you, you're playing the Envy game with Matthew Aslin, designer of the Ratcatcher. It's a cooperative game, and he's checking to see if it's in the last 5 years or not.
But in that ballpark, or
yeah, something like that. While you're doing that, Matthew, I have a question for you.
Yep.
Does it have minis in it?
Yes.
Hey, Steve, I'm having trouble with the chat. I can't.
The only question I've seen so far is that Topher's come up with is there a trader mechanism?
Oh, I see it now. Yeah, trader mechanism. There we go.
No, there's not a trader mechanic.
Not a trader.
That would make it very cool, though.
It does have minis, though, right? It does have minis. Okay. So that throws Shadows over Camelot out. No trader mechanic.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
How about
that is a good game.
What do you got? A question, Steve? What's yours?
Is it something that we would have recognized as an award winner?
Ooh.
No.
An award winner.
No.
Not an award winner.
Okay.
Does it?
Yes, last 5 years, just.
Last 5 years, just.
Oh, okay. Chat crew, that's a big clue there. Within the last 5 years. So throw out Pandemic, throw out Shadows over Camelot. Does have minis, and it's
should try and focus on theme. Does it have a fantasy theme?
Yes. It's got a very distinct theme.
An IP?
No.
I was about to say Lord of the Rings. Okay, so not IP.
Very distinctive fantasy IP, co-op, minis, last 5 years.
Well, that's not Legends of Andor because that's way older than 5 years.
It is. Showing your age too.
Yeah, exactly. The chat crew can probably guess my age. I've got grandkids.
We're showing our age.
Yeah. Look at this thing, man. Matthew, just to let you know, as I told Steve, I colored gray though. Just so
sure.
Me look older.
It's a stylistic comment. Thomas wants to know if go ahead. Go,
Thomas
BJ.
wants to know if it was kickstarted.
Yes, it was.
Does it have colonists?
Colonists?
Yes.
not the right word for it, but very similar.
I'm thinking.
Are you thinking Spirit Island?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
I was leaning there too.
Doesn't have minis.
Not really. I guess those little tiny. See, I was thinking of those little tiny things, but they're not really minis. Though.
True, minis.
Yeah.
I'm from a wargaming background. Minis are minis.
Yeah, minis are mini. How big does a mini have to be before it's a maxi, though? That's what I want to know. Before it's not a mini anymore.
There's no limit.
Yeah.
The bigger the better.
Topher wants to know: is it a really dark fantasy theme, or like the bright?
This is very dark.
Topher might have an inkling of where we're going here. You want to take a shot?
Oh, Topher, take a guess. Yeah, Berla was thinking Spirit Island too, so it's not that. Let's see. Is it still in print?
Yep.
Still in print.
Cooperative is throwing me here now.
So it's got minis, but is it board based or is it more of a card game?
Board.
Dice?
Yep.
The zombies?
Gotta have dice to it.
So like
No zombies.
Yeah, because I was thinking like Black Plague would be medieval fantasy and very dark.
Possibly, yeah.
Not that.
Me and Cool Mini don't get along.
Okay, so we can knock out any of the Simon games, right?
Topher may have it. Is it Kingdom Death Monster?
Yes, it is Kingdom Death.
Topher got it.
He got that right away. Why didn't we think of that? Kickstarter, dark. That was the hint. Matthew, that was the big hint.
Topher had it.
Nice job, Topher. It is KDM.
Very good.
I still have yet to play it. We have it in the Gumbo crew. I just have yet to play it. It looks a little dark, Matthew. What's that?
Yeah, I've known Adam for years, the guy who creates it all. So I'm one of the original fanboys. Even before the game, I had the miniatures, everything. I love that universe.
Wow.
Very good.
Can you make the Ratcatcher that big of a universe, you think? Is that your hope?
I have a Ratcatcher crossover with KD in design, so I've got to talk to Adam when he's got some more spare time, and hopefully we'll work something out.
Let him finish delivering the game, Matthew, before you get involved. He still hasn't delivered the whole game.
I could last out another 10 years.
It's become a lifestyle game. So I used to do volunteering work for Grey Fox, and our booth was just down the road from KDM's booth. And oh my God, when Gen Con would open up, if you've ever been to Gen Con. Have you been to Gen Con? No.
Sadly, no.
Okay.
You guys are too far a swim away.
Oh, Matthew, they lined up all the way from the other end of the hall all the way past our booth. I mean, they were there the minute the hall opened. They wanted to get those sweet deals on the minis. So.
Yeah, it's nuts. He's created a cult.
It's a lifestyle game for sure. and that is the Envy game presented by our friends Berkey and them at Game Toppers LLC. Make your game nights a showstopper when you play on a Game Topper, Matthew.
Oh, yeah.
All right, board gamers, that is it for another episode of Gumbo Live. Hey, Matthew, how can people reach you if they want to talk to you about the Ratcatcher before it goes away in the next 6 days?
Oh, just on the Kickstarter, I'm really, really active in the comment sections there. You can even pop across to our Platypus Industries Discord channel, where I leak lots of information and show pictures of me playing the game and working on art and get some feedback as we're doing some stuff. At the moment, we're choosing a mascot rat that I'm in the concepting and things during the campaign. So we're just about to narrow down voting over the next 24 hours, and then I'll get finalized in the artwork to hopefully have it done by the end of the campaign.
Make sure to check it out. Congratulations to Topher also on winning the Envy game. Hey, make sure to like our Facebook page, facebook.com/SportGameGumbo, and our YouTube channel because it helps us get the word out about all of our upcoming shows, including next week. We're going back down under. We have Josh from America, but he's talking about the Great Barrier Reef card game, which is out on Kickstarter. Josh from Travel Buddy Games, who's one of the developers over at Grey Fox. He's got a little travel game, and it's going to be pretty cool to look at. I'm BJ from More Game Gumbo, and until next time, Matthew and Steve, laissez le bon temps rouler.
My pleasure.
Take it easy, guys.